Water, water everywhere and not a drop to drink. You've all heard it, and sometimes we find ourselves in the land of water. In fact, Ajijic, the name Ajijic is Nahuatl for which is the indigenous language, for place of water. It's true. We have thermal spas. We have a huge lake. This is the biggest lake in Mexico at Lake Chapala. It's 50 by 12 miles at its widest points. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. It's an extinct volcano, and it created a lake in the mountains. Just gorgeous. But there's so many people here who talk about how terrible the lake is. You can't drink water from the taps, and you can't, and that you'll get sick from drinking the water. It's a joke. When you understand why things are the way they are, then you understand why you do things the way you do. And it's always been a theme in my life, and it's something that I want to share with you. So let's talk about water, okay? Let's get started. I'm going to cut over to a little more formal setting. Hey, Remarkable Lifers. Welcome over here to this side of the video. I wanted to give you a little bit of a disclaimer up front. I am not a scientist, nor am I a doctor, nor am I any of those things. So this is all what we have experienced and what we have done research on. But living here in Ajijic, Mexico, there is definitely a difference in how water is used and where it comes from. And just the simple nature of water is a much different animal here in Mexico. So let's get started and talk about some of the things that you might need to know to help you understand how things work here. Okay, so one of the biggest questions that we get is, can I drink the water in Ajijic? Well, that's not a simple yes or no answer. We have to give you a little bit of context around that before you can make that decision. And as always, any time that you go into a foreign country, you're going to need to make that decision based on what your comfort levels are. But to understand the real question, we have to look at the complexities of it. There are cities in Mexico like Monterrey and some parts of Mexico City, even some local fraccionamientos or HOAs with their own water treatment, where it's actually extremely good. But that's not the case across Mexico. And why is that? Because the infrastructure is old. There are leaks that can come into it and introduce impurities into the water. There's different ground minerals and metals and things like that in the water here because much of Mexico is a very different geology. It's a geographically different location than up north. So it's important to remember that these challenges aren't unique to Mexico. So it is a global reality. And if you think about even in the United States, Flint, Michigan, there's been other communities. There was a whole movie made about Aaron Brockovich. I mean, come on. So we know that this is not unique to Mexico. What we do also know is that other countries like India, Egypt, or places with aging infrastructure have sometimes hidden contaminants in their waters. There are countries with different geology that have forever chemicals that are seeping into the groundwater. There is chemical infiltration from industry and businesses and all of that. And so this is a global thing, and it's in-home filtration is actually widely used throughout the world for anyone who wants to take care of their water and make it pure and make it safe. But in the United States and Canada, historically, we've just come to expect that our water systems would work. We would turn on the tap, it's going to be clean, and it's going to function. The unfortunate part of that is that that's not always the case, even in the United States. And in Mexico, these unique issues sometimes come into play. So it helps to see how the water actually moves through your house to know where to place that filtration system and to know why it's important. So water is stored in a underground cistern. There would be a cistern called an aljibe. That's where the water comes into your house, whether it be from a well or whether it be, city municipal water. So that aljibe, usually we have one in our garage. There's a little trap door. We used to have it in our carport. I've seen them under people's porches in their backyards, those kind of things. That water is then pumped up through the house and pushes it into an elevated storage tank, again called a tinaco, which just means water storage tank, on the roof. And that then allows for a gravity-fed system. So if something goes wrong with your pump, an electrical outage, anything, that water can go up and sit there, and when you turn on the tap, the gravity pushes it down. So from that tinaco, water flows and into your house and is assisted by vent pipes and all of the normal plumbing systems that you would have in your house, and it goes directly to your faucets. So if you want the ultimate solution, where do you put a filtration system? Okay, so to bridge the gap between that utility water and your drinking water or your daily use water, many residents turn to a permanent solution called a reverse osmosis system. And this is a whole house system. So it's not just installed under your sink. Sometimes it's installed just as it's getting pumped into the house. Now, the stage one of that, it goes through this system, and there's a sediment filter that acts like a first line of defense, trapping rust and dirt. The second stage of that is a carbon filter, and that removes the chlorine, the taste, the odors, the organic chemicals that are in water. And then you have a stage 3, which is an RO membrane, and it uses a semi-permeable membrane to block and dissolve solids like heavy minerals and metals and those kinds of things. Most homes do not come automatically with this, especially in non-immigrant areas, because the people here tend to just use a different method to get their drinking water, and they only shower and bathe and things like that. They might put chlorine tablets in their aljibe. They will clean their aljibe and tinaco frequently or on a regular basis when they can. Some people don't. I don't. Hey, we all have things in our house we don't do. So what kind of things can you get for drinking water here, and how would you, arriving here, know about that or how to get it set up? Well, beyond filtration, we also do manage the water supply in what we have as delivered water or purified water that's available for purchase. So you can buy standard drinking water in garrafons, which is a big 20-liter jug. It's a 5-gallon jug. And there's special little racks that you put it in that you can tip them. That's a little cheaper than buying like a water cooler, but some people have water coolers. We have those in our homes, and that's what we get our water out of. What we do, because we do have a filtration system on our house, but we don't drink that water, mainly because we just don't know. And it makes us feel better. And we actually like the taste. It makes us feel better, meaning makes me more comfortable. But I actually like the taste of the garrafon water better than I like the water out of my faucets. I think we get 5 garrafons each time they're delivered, and it's like 125 pesos, which is $8. Some guy delivers them, and he's a very nice guy, and he carries them in for us and puts them wherever we want them, and he takes away the old bottles. And a lot of people will use that for their animals, for themselves, for drinking, as well as for cooking. And we do kind of a mix, because we also have a blue light filter that's under the sink that purifies one of the taps on the sink, and that provides drinking water, and it gets rid of everything. I don't use it that much. I'll use it for the dog, and we use it to clean vegetables, and we use it to clean fruits and things like that, which we'll talk about in a bit. But we like that garrafon of water. Now, if you're new here and you're just showing up and you're at some Airbnb or vacation rental or staying with a friend, you're going to want to know how the water's treated there. You just ask. You say, is this filtered water? And they say, yeah. And you say, can I drink it? And you say, no. The drinking water's over there. For us, we tell people there's a pitcher in the refrigerator, so it's nice and cold. If you don't like it cold, pour it directly out of the thing. And it's not a big deal. It's just not a big deal. You get used to it. If you're visiting, there are smaller 1-gallon jugs, 2-gallon jugs, bottled water, just a regular bottled water, available at literally almost every tienda. And then there are tiendas everywhere. If you have a frontage on your house, you can have a tienda here. So you might have 2 or 3 in a block. And almost every single place carries some sort of water. And reputable local businesses and restaurants will have purified water for their ice and whatever they're serving you. If you even notice some of the small taco stands that are along the side of the road, then notice they're probably going to have a garrafone of water there. So that tells you that, hey, the water that they're using to clean with, to do any of the cooking is clean. Don't stress. It's not that they're using water, out of some hose somewhere. Okay. It's just that we operate differently here, and sometimes we bring our water with us when we go out and do things. So what about cooking with water? And when it comes to cooking, you can feel pretty confident that if you have a blue light system or that reverse osmosis system, that you can use it to cook for boiling water for like pastas, rice, those kind of things, because boiling neutralizes the organisms that are in it. Tap water is generally fine for coffee or tea, provided you boil it, not necessarily just in your coffee maker. So if you have a coffee maker and you want to use, then you're at an Airbnb. Maybe you just arrived and you're not sure of your systems yet. You can buy a garrafone of water and fill it up and use it for that. You get them in 1 gallon, you get them in 2 gallons, things you can carry. But many people use the filtered water to clean their fruits and vegetables and then lay them out to dry or pat them dry. There are different kinds of things that you can use in it, like microdine, which is a drop that you put in the water that you wash things in, and it kills any bacteria that might be there. It also, you can use a little bit of vinegar, I hear, and people have different methods. You can look all of that up. I'm not trying to be Google. I'm just trying to give you a nice overview. So a lot of people ask, is it safe to shower in? Is it safe to wash my hands? I mean, is that dangerous? Am I going to get infections? If you have a general filtration system on your house, you're probably not going to have any problems with washing yourself, your clothes, your hands, your face, any of those things. Especially using soap, that will help purify. And most houses that have the reverse osmosis system, that is enough. You don't need anything more than that. Now, if you're worried about the hard water here with all the minerals and such in it, because that can do damage to your body over time. I'm not a medical professional. Read the disclaimer at the end, but it is known to do damage to your body over time. You can then use the purified water. That's fine. So what do you do if you get sick living in Mexico or visiting Mexico with the water? First of all, I am not talking about the parasitic situation that's going on with the lettuce and all of that right now at the time of the recording of this video. What I'm talking about is, in general, the condition of water. And if you find yourself feeling ill, I definitely encourage you to go and get checked out. Mexico has a really cool system where they have consultorios, which is a consultation with a doctor, with a medical professional that's attached to pharmacies. And it's very cost effective. It's literally under 100 pesos sometimes, which is like $5, $10. And they'll tell you exactly what you need to take. For situations like this where I think I got the stomach thing, they'll kind of ask you questions and you'll know really fast what it is. And they'll give you a medication to use. If it doesn't work, they'll tell you a suggestion for an alternative. You buy it right there at the pharmacy, you leave, you take it, you're good. I don't want to pretend that I am a medical professional here telling you what to do. I don't want to see anybody have something that's going to damage their body. But in general, giving you get it. You're smart. If I got a little stomach thing, I take a pill, it goes away, I'm fine. And I watch to make sure it doesn't come back. That's what I do. Okay, so we'll let you make up that much. So when you have that stomach thing, we'll leave it there. You're going to get dehydrated very fast. Any tienda, any local store here, almost all of them carry these electrolytes. Some even have sugar-free versions and powdered form and all of that. So make sure that you kind of seek some of those out. Maybe grab one while you're here, and that will give you a little bit extra boost. So because we live near Lake Chapala, I am 100% that if I don't mention this, my comments are going to be full of what about? And I'm sure that whatever I say here is going to be ripped apart down in the comments. So do your worst, do your best, put it down below. But Lake Chapala is often a source of controversy because in the past it has been extremely, extremely polluted due to runoff and farmland and just chemicals and general problems. It's a lake. It is also a very shallow lake. So while it's 50 miles by 12 miles at its widest points, and it's a volcanic crater is where the lake is in the mountains, it's also not quite that deep. And because of that, the water doesn't circulate in the same way that it might in a big lake, creating a little more stagnancy that you might not see in some other lakes. I think it's only like 40 feet deep at the deepest point. But Lake Chapala is not a lake you would want to drink from. It's not a lake that I would suggest if you're not from here that you just go dive into for many reasons. There are, there's pollution in the water, but there's also, when the water's down, the farmers will farm out there. There may be implements, there may be wire, there may be fencing, and you just don't jump out there and swim in it. If you use a boat, most people here use flat bottom boats, kayaks, those kind of things. There's not a lot of deep boats. There's no yachts. This is not Lake of the Ozarks or Lake Tahoe. All of those things make it a very unique ecosystem. It is still a very much alive ecosystem. There are species here that do not exist anywhere else because it is a microclimate kind of a thing. But just walking along or being near the lake is not going to hurt you. The water sources for Ajijic and Chapala are not actually the lake. Interestingly enough, the lake feeds the water systems for Guadalajara. And that could be because they have much more sophisticated systems that they can use and clean that water up a lot better. Here, it comes from very deep wells. And so they try not to get into the thermal vents because that has a whole different kind of connotation. But the water in town here comes from deep wells, not the actual lake. The additional thing to pay attention to with that is that we do have thermal water vents here because this is a volcanic region. Those things are used for spas and pools and those kind of things, okay? And that makes for a wonderful experience, but we don't drink it, and it's something to pay attention to. Okay, so let's play a little Mythbuster situation here, okay? Let's recap with some myths and some facts. So the first myth would be water in your home comes directly from Lake Chapala. We just learned differently. The fact is that it comes from wells. The wells would then be a different water table. Number 2, the myth of you cannot use tap water for anything, cooking, cleaning, bathing, anything. No, that is not true. Proper boiling, filtration allows you to use it very safely for hygiene, for cleaning, and in some cases even to boil for food prep. You just want to be careful. It's an overabundance of caution to make sure that you're not maybe swallowing a lot of water in the shower or that you're not brushing your teeth with it because you don't know. It surpasses that having to ask all the questions from a faceless landlord or Airbnb where you don't really have that much contact with them. If you see the systems, then that might answer the questions for you, but just be careful. Plus, there are water issues in Mexico. It's a real thing. So use bottled water when in doubt. The next myth would be water challenges are unique to Mexico. This is a Mexico thing. This doesn't exist anywhere else. Way wrong. Okay, this is a worldwide problem. We have it everywhere from Flint, Michigan to India to Egypt to so many different nations. Even in fully developed nations, there are places where people choose to put filtration systems inside their home and at their kitchen taps because they don't trust it or they've had bad experiences. It tastes funny, something like that. The next myth, you can get sick from the ice in local restaurants. Okay, let me tell you something. They're serving ice to their friends and family. Okay, they're serving ice to the tourists as well. They're drinking that ice and the water and such with the ice in it. So generally a reputable local business around here is going to serve you filtered water with ice that they've bought or filtered. Okay, so you don't have to stress over that. If it makes you more comfortable not to drink the ice, fine. If you're at some place that looks sketchy, take the high road and just don't have the ice. Get the bottle of water, or the bottle of soda, or the bottle of whatever. Take your precautions, but as a whole, you don't have to worry about it. And another myth is you're going to get sick just by walking beside the lake. Okay, look, we live in a tropical climate with rainy season and dry season. So yeah, you may get bit by a mosquito and end up with dengue. It does not happen that often, to be honest with you, but it can happen. But not from the water itself. It's not the water itself. If you wear your bug spray and you in the rainy season and you have a bottle of water and you're walking by the lake, there's almost a zero chance that you're going to get anything. It's coming from the lake. And if you get an odor or something like that, remember that you're up by the shore. There are, grasses and algae and things like that that come in on that. You're going to experience that in a lot of places with any kind of lake environment. I think people want this to be the ocean. I really do. And they're fooled by the fact that it's, I think right where we're at, it's like 5 or 6 miles wide. So just remember, the lake's not for drinking. If you're unsure, don't jump into it. Wear your bug spray. You're fine. Okay, so I hope this was a nice high-level overview that kind of just lets you know what to do. When you arrive here, just make sure you grab some bottled water and get yourself started, and then go out and get the things you need. Use the caution that you're comfortable with, and know that you can go get some sort of help if you do get the little belly parasite. I know a lot of people just want to jump right in and start eating those tacos and ordering some drinks. Make sure you just are aware before you walk in. And I think being armed walking in and having that sixth sense of, oh, this might be one of those situations I want to get a bottle versus an ice situation, or this might be a situation where I want to skip the cilantro on my taco. That sixth sense is going to save you in so many ways. And if you do get it, generally, it's a very fast thing to get over. Stay hydrated, stay healthy, and you're going to be okay. So there's ways around all of it. It's a different way of living. To us now, it is second nature. We don't even think about it. So I think if you have this information and you're armed with it, you're going to be just fine. So I hope you liked it. Comment down below. Please like, subscribe, and follow us. And if you haven't already, go find your truly remarkable